This is the entry role into becoming a buyer. Hi, my name is Emma, and quite a few months ago, I made a video called A Week in the Life of a Fashion Buyer. And I got a lot of questions about what my job really entails, what's it all about, what do I do, as well as finding out how to get into a position like that and how to even prep for an interview like that. So I thought I'd sit down today and kind of run through all those common questions on that video and give you some answers so you get a bit more clarity on what a fashion buyer really does. As always, if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Make sure you turn on that notification bell. I'm actually looking at a whole heap of new career paths. So if you're a bit confused on what you want to do, then join on my journey with me as I try to find out what really makes me tick and what I'm super interested in to make a living out of. Okay, so I guess first things first, what does a fashion buyer do? Well, a fashion buyer is responsible for buying all the clothing or product that you see in your stores. So let's just say when you go out shopping and you're trying to find a new top, there's a person behind the scenes that yes, designs it, but someone has to approve it and buy the product and manage all that inventory at a store level. Now, I wish that it was just that easy of saying that I go out, I see a t-shirt, and then I buy a heap of it to go put into a store, but it's really not. You have to wear so many hats being a buyer. You have to work with marketing, you have to be an accountant, you have to work with inventory, you have to be a designer, you have to really keep that customer focus at mind as well. So you're doing a bit of customer service. You're also talking to all the stores. You're their one touch point to really make sure that your product is alive and really is showing a lot of presence on that shop floor. A day-to-day in the life of a buyer is really never the same. And I know it's such like a cheesy and typical answer that doesn't really help out that much, but I'll try to give you some insight into what I've experienced day-to-day across the 4 years or plus that I've been working in the fashion industry. So on a day-to-day basis, I'll get into the office, I'll log onto my computer, and I'll just go through my emails. Usually this happens for like an hour in the morning because while we're sleeping and we're all at home, our factories overseas are working. So they're encountering issues or problems, say like you ordered 1,000 units, but only 900 are ready to ship. Those type of things are coming into your inbox while you sleep. So in the morning, I like to designate 1 hour to going through my emails and just checking everything off, making sure that everything is in a good position, and then prioritizing those tasks for the rest of my day. During the day, I will have a lot of meetings set up, so with marketing, with design, with our manager, just to make sure that everything's in tip-top condition, ready for any marketing campaigns, inventory or sales issues that we may be experiencing, things like that. Just making sure that you have all bases covered so that you're not stuck in a predicament where you're not making your sales budget or any like KPIs or objectives. We also have a lot of design meetings to run through the ranges for future ranges that we'll be incorporating. So we identify those key messages like sustainability, and then we also target those like key design stories that we want to tell. So just say like, we really think that yellow will be the next pop of color for the next season. So really encapsulating that pop of yellow throughout all the neutral bases to really complement it. If I'm completely honest, a lot of my day is made up of meetings. It's great to have a team behind you to then send that work through to. So the team that we have is an IC who looks after our stock and sends all the stock to the right stores at the right time. Our planner who decides what amount of units we should buy into and make sure that everything's hitting their KPIs as we're tracking along through the season. We also have a buyer's assistant, which I'll get into later, which is just the assistant to the buyer who does all the product information and things that you'll find on the system. And then you have the buyer. Of course, there's so many other facets of the business, and I feel that if you're going to be a successful buyer, you really need to understand how teamwork truly works. You'll need to be jumping around the office, making friends with everyone, and using those skills to your advantage and building relationships with everyone. Because at the end of the day, you will literally go to each part of the business throughout your career. Hands down, hands down. As I mentioned before, a buyer's assistant is the assistant to the buyer. So if you're thinking of doing a career change or if fashion buying is really for you, this is typically where you need to start, is as a buyer's assistant. I don't know if that was really a sentence, but oh well. You need to become a buyer's assistant to become a buyer. To become a buyer's assistant, I personally went to university and I studied textiles and fashion merchandising management. However, when I went straight into the workforce after uni, I discovered that a lot of people hadn't studied for it. So they just entered the position as entry level, they'd never studied fashion before and just wanted to give it a try, which is fine. I think both ways kind of works for anyone. It's just personal preference. I personally feel that with my degree, I definitely went through the ranks a bit faster because I knew a lot of the terminology. I understood how the whole system and industry worked. So to becoming a buyer, that's my number one tip, is obviously becoming a buyer's assistant first. Then you kind of just have to work your way up through the industry, through your company, and opportunities will arise. They come and go. It's hard work, but if you keep a positive mentality and keep striving for the best quality of work, the promotion will definitely come. On my last video, Remy had a question about preparing for an interview to become a buyer. If you haven't been a buyer before, you typically won't be applying for a buying position straight out of the pack. You'll be applying for a buyer's assistant role. In my interview, I had to do a SWOT analysis, which is like looking at the strengths and weaknesses and threats for a particular project. I honestly cannot remember mine, but I think I had to come up with like a new product and then do a SWOT analysis on that product. So that was my application for the buyer's assistant role, as well as just doing a standard interview. They asked me questions about how my teamwork, my organization. They also asked me about the critical path, which is a way of monitoring all the events that are coming up and making sure that you do them by the dead date. But aside from that, it was just kind of more of a typical interview experience. A lot of the same questions like strengths and weaknesses, things that you would just experience in a normal interview. I personally didn't have any experience within fashion when I did apply for the buyer's assistant role. All I had was my degree. So it was just really broad questions, and I related it back to any work that I did previously, as well as on my uni assignments. For my buyer's interview, I got asked a lot more about my data and statistics on how I bettered the departments in the past. So getting all those sales information, year-on-year analysis about how much that you improved the department after you took over buying. Things like that. What do you see in a range? Other questions included like, how do you deal in times of crisis and pressure, and how do you get your team really involved and be a good leader, because that's essentially what a buyer is. For my buying interview, I had to also do another assignment for that, which was identifying a new product line that we could involve into the business for the department that I was applying for. In my last video, Lynn asked how you apply for a fashion buying role. So just jump onto your local job site for your country and just type in buyer. A heap of jobs should pop up. Also search assistant buyer or buyer's assistant. Everything will come up. You'll get planning roles, you'll get designing roles, everything under that fashion industry. Just search. So I hope that really helped you get some clarity on what my job involves. I no longer am actually doing buying anymore, so I'm going to be trialing out a lot of different careers. So make sure you like and subscribe and follow the journey of me kind of re-navigating my career and what I want to do in life. Until next time, see you later. Bye.